Seth Wickersham back here on the show. How are you, Seth?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I got to tell you, you had me at hello with this Stafford interview, and the way that you tweeted it out. I mean, this is what look. I always enjoy your work, but I definitely clicked on the line that you said is, "What is it like to do something professionally for 12 years, but yet not know just how good you are at it?" I mean, that one really hit me. Does Stafford really not know how good he is at football right now, Seth?
I mean, I think that he has a lot of confidence, but you know, he wanted out of Detroit for one reason, and that's because, you know, for 12 years, all except for 3 of those 12 years, he was at home during the playoffs. And football is and always will be a late January and early February game. And for most of, 9 out of those 12 years, he watched other quarterbacks, author their legend while he was at home. And I asked him at one point, I was like, "What do you want out of the rest of your career?" And he was at an autograph signing, and he put down the pen and he looked at me and he said, "I just want to play in big games. I just want to make big throws against the top competition when everyone is watching, rather than just like a 1:00 game, during the regular season." And I found that a really earnest and a really humble desire and answer on his part. And the other part of that is that, he doesn't know how he's going to perform. For the entire time he was in Detroit, everything was on his shoulders. And now it's a little bit different. Rather than see what his skill set can transcend, he's the missing piece on a team that's expected, at least internally. I mean, it's Super Bowl or nothing for them. And Matthew doesn't know how he's going to perform on that stage, and I think he's really eager. He's desperately eager to see what happens.
So what did you glean from him as to why he finally, either mustered up the gumption or had enough of what he was dealing with in Detroit to ask for his way out, to finally just flat out go to ownership and say, "Let's do this"?
It was really interesting because, a lot of players, a lot of professional athletes, as you know, derive a lot of power and pride from kind of, sticking it to their employer. And with Stafford, it was the complete opposite. He was almost embarrassed about it. The regular season ended with a loss to the Vikings. It was another wasted season. He knew that there was going to be another rebuild with a new GM and a new head coach. And, even though Matthew Stafford was the franchise in Detroit, each time there's a regime change, he has to kind of find his way. What's required of him? What kind of leader does he have to be in the building? And I don't think that he felt like he could do it. And so the night after that loss to the Vikings, he told his wife, Kelly, something that they had discussed before the season, and that was asking out. And he said, "I was going to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to ask for a trade." And then the next morning, she enters their kitchen, and he's emptying the dishwasher, and he's quiet. And he is carrying on an entire conversation with himself in his own head where he is reconsidering and doubting his decision because in a very real way, he looked at it like a failure if he was going to ask out. He came to Detroit in 2009 when both the Lions were 0-16 and the city were at its lowest, and he wanted to deliver a championship there. And asking out would be kind of an epic concession. But, by the time he left his house that morning, he stopped by and he said to his wife, "Say a little prayer for me," because he decided to go ahead and do it. And he actually cried during that meeting.
All right. Tell me more. Keep going.
Well, I think that the other thing that was interesting I found about it is that, he wanted it quiet. And he was incredibly nervous. He did not want to play the leak game against the Lions. Like, even though the Lions had been kind of a mess throughout most of his career there, some of his best friends were there. They had paid him a ton of money. The team had helped his wife when she needed that tumor removed from her brain years ago. And, he liked his teammates a lot. And so after he asked for the trade, the team is caught a little off guard by it. But after they hire a head coach and a GM, they decide to proceed with it. And he's nervous. And he's just having a hard time with this decision. Like, everything about it was just eating him up. Finally, his wife says, "We got to get out of the country. We got to get out of here. Like, we need to do something different. So they decide to get away to Cabo for a quick weekend. He lands in Cabo, and he texts his friend Andrew Whitworth, who just happens to be the offensive tackle for the Rams, and he says, "Hey, I'm here." Whitworth texts his head coach, Sean McVay, who just happens to be in Cabo also, and within an hour, they're at a pool with cocktails, and the next thing you know, Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are off to the side talking football while, everybody else is kind of mingling. And it was really interesting because Sean McVay got down there. He's obviously not in a great place. They're thinking about moving on from Jared Goff.
Right.
And he's down there with his fiance after a long season. They had just lost to the Packers in the playoffs. And Sean McVay texts the Rams brass, and he says, "You're not going to effing believe this. Matthew Stafford is here." They meet at the pool. They bond. The next day, Sean McVay is in his room on vacation watching cut-ups of Matthew Stafford on his phone and on his iPad, testing the patience of his fiancée, Veronica, or one could argue investing in their mutual future happiness. And
well done, Seth Wickersham.
And a day later, Matthew Stafford is a Ram.
So, okay, based on all of what you just said, he has this moment with his wife where he's just like, okay, we were talking about it, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
The it being going to the Lions to say, I want out.
Mm-hmm.
He does it in a tear-filled, emotional meeting that was with Sheila Ford Hamp.
Team president, yeah,
okay.
Ownership, yeah.
Okay, so he does that. They start the process, I guess, right away, during which time he and his wife say, we're getting out of the country. The Rams left tackle and coach just happens to be there. And then a trade happens while he's there. That happened. That happened on planet Earth.
Yes.
Wow. That's crazy.
I was saying, like Drew Brees was in Cabo at the same time. Right. Kyle Shanahan was in Cabo at the same time.
And that too, Seth, because so many people, Seth Wickersham here on the Rich Eisen Show from ESPN, found a phenomenal article and a chat with Matthew Stafford that we're chopping up right now. So that's the thing that I point out to everybody if they need it, because the doubters about Stafford is just the guy from the Lions who made a ton of money and amassed all these yards and didn't amount to anything. That the number of people who are so upset in the NFL that the Rams got Stafford before them includes Kyle Shanahan of the Niners.
Absolutely.
That was part of this offseason that a lot of folks glossed over because obviously they have Trey Lance now, and that whole Lance Garoppolo thing is still playing out as you and I are talking. That was seemingly a plan A as opposed to trading draft choices to go up and get a third overall selection.
Yeah, I mean, from the moment the season ended, the 49ers were in the quarterback derby. And I think that I don't think that it's exactly related, but I do think that Matthew Stafford is going to the Rams is one of the reasons that the 49ers decided to trade up to draft Trey Lance. And, I was saying, usually, as you know, you get great league gossip, at the bars at the combine or at the bar at the owners' meetings. And I'm going to seriously lobby my boss to just send me to Cabo after the season ends, and I'm just going to post up by the pool and let things happen, because that's clearly the epicenter of power in the NFL that nobody else is at.
Yes, indeed. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.